Hey guys, I'm Coach Ty with Muscle Wiki, and we got something special for you today. I'm doing, finally, what I've been wanting to do for a while now, our chest training guide, and this is gonna be the first in a series of 15 videos. We're gonna hit all the major body parts from pecs to calves to traps, so on and so forth. We're giving you the anatomy, the research, how many reps and sets you should do, and also my personal favorite exercises for you to do based on all those scientific factors. So here we go. All right, we're going straight into the anatomy section of the video. So first, we've got 3 sections to the pecs: clavicular, sternal, and coastal, although the bottom 2 heads can be combined into one, which is referred to as the sternocostal head. So what does the pec do? What are the functions? So first and foremost, shoulder horizontal flexion with an internally rotated shoulder joint. This hits all regions of your pec and is the only function of the pecs that train the clavicular and sternocostal head. So the bulk of your pec work should be done with this function here. Number 2, shoulder horizontal adduction. Now it's adduction when your shoulder is externally rotated and flexion when internally rotated. When externally rotated, you're training the middle and lower fibers, or the sternocostal head. Now number 3 is not quite as important. It's shoulder flexion while you have a straight arm. The front delts are the primary movers during this, so I would say that you don't really need to have this function in your pec training. And then finally, same thing or similar thing, shoulder extension when you have a flexed arm. The lats are by far the primary movers here. However, if you want to get a little extra lower pec work, the pecs do act in conjunction with the lats to perform this function. It's important to note that the upper head or the clavicular head makes up 19% of the pec, and the sternocostal head makes up 81%. So it's a good idea to make the majority of your pec work flat, pushing in the horizontal plane instead of doing a whole ton of incline work. And also, if you are training horizontal adduction, you're going to be training the upper head anyway. Based on what we just talked about in regards to the anatomy, we know that the more flared out your elbows are, either on a fly or a press, the more you're training horizontal adduction. As you tuck your elbows, the function that is happening at the shoulder joint is a lot more like a front raise than it is a press or fly or, again, horizontal adduction. So we want to flare the elbows out as much as we possibly can. However, the drawback with that is if you have shoulder issues. So I use my boy Ryan, who's the founder of Muscle Wiki, in this video, and he was perfect for this because he does have shoulder issues. If you have shoulder issues, this internally rotated position at the shoulder is going to be very hard. There's literally less space in your shoulder joint, which can lead to impingement or other kinds of injuries. So if you have a shoulder issue, I would encourage you to tuck your elbows a little bit more, but try to have your elbows as far flared out as you can while it's still comfortable on your shoulder joint. If you feel pain, stop. Let pain be your guide on this one. You should let pain be your guide on pretty much all your exercises. If something is giving you joint pain, stop. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Cut it off right there. Can you target the inner chest? Short answer, no. The pecs are one long sheet of muscle. Now, while we can preferentially recruit the upper and then the middle and lower heads of the pecs, we cannot recruit the inner versus the outer. So we have 2 studies here. One is a very old study from 1973, I believe it is, by Johnson, amongst others. This is kind of the preeminent study in regards to fiber type distribution in muscles. However, we're going to focus on a different study, fiber type composition and maximum shortening velocity of muscles crossing the human shoulder. You can see in this table here, it says CSA, which means cross-sectional area. So this is the percentage of the muscle that is fast twitch and slow twitch. You also see SOG, which is slow twitch, FG, which is fast, and FOG, which is also fast. In general, slow twitch muscle fibers make up a significant portion of a muscle, except for in regards to the pecs and the biceps and the subscapularis. Now here in this table, we can see maximum shortening velocity, which is another indication as to how fast twitch a muscle is. And the pecs also, once again, ranked the highest alongside the biceps. What does all this fiber type stuff really mean? What's the practical application here? Well, if you have a fast twitch dominant muscle, that's an indication as to the amount of volume that you should be using for that particular muscle. I always base this on two factors, that being the muscle that I'm training and its fiber type composition, and then also the exercise that I'm training and whether it's compound or isolation. With fiber type composition, we know that a fast twitch dominant muscle, it expends energy much more quickly, it also fatigues more quickly, and it's also much more susceptible to damage than a slow twitch dominant muscle. So you need to make sure you're not doing too much. The pecs are one of the most fast twitch dominant muscles in the body. So that means that they are very susceptible to muscle damage. So we want to be conservative with the amount of sets and reps that we're doing. So for your pec moves, I like to divide them into two categories, a fly and a press category. Now with the fly category, I go a little bit higher on the reps. So somewhere between 8 to 12. And again, that's an isolation move. The only moving joint is your shoulder joint, meaning all that tension is right there on those shoulders. So we want to be a little bit careful and not go too heavy so we don't put too much stress on that joint. And with the press category, you've got the elbows getting involved, bringing the triceps into it as well. So we've got a little extra musculature and also an extra joint involved in pressing. So I like to go even heavier with that one. So with your pressing move, make it between 4 and 10 reps, somewhere in there. I'm of the opinion that cables are your best friend in regards to your pec training. So I'm gonna make a video soon on a concept called line of resistance or line of action and how important it is for exercise selection and also extending range of motion, also making a movement more difficult in a particular range of motion. The thing that's important here is you want the resistance coming from the side during a pec move. Again, we're training adduction, right? And so we need the resistance pulling from the side so we can adequately adduct the shoulder joint. With a dumbbell or a barbell, the resistance is pulling straight backwards against gravity. So after we've reached about this point here, there's no more tension on that muscle. However, with cables, with a cable stack where you're pulling from outward and not just directly behind you, you've got active range of motion all the way to this point. And you can also cross your arms to get even a little bit longer range of motion. You can also move the seat back and forth to adjust where the resistance is at its highest. If you move the bench further back towards the cable stack, you'll more so emphasize the end of the range of motion or that contraction. If you move it further out from the cable stack, you'll more so be emphasizing the stretch. Both of those have their advantages. We do know that stretch-mediated hypertrophy is a very powerful muscle builder, so I would suggest putting the emphasis on the stretch position. And then periodically, when you're adjusting your exercise movements, it can be as simple as adjusting where you place the bench in relation to the cable stacks. So you emphasize the contraction now instead of the stretch, or vice versa. Here are my favorite pec exercises. We're starting with what I'll call the Bayesian fly. I got this one from Menno Henselmans, who's one of my favorite fitness people. This takes advantage of that horizontal flexion we've been talking about and also the cables as I just articulated. You can get a really long range of motion, and again, depending on where you put the bench at, you can either emphasize the stretch or the contraction. Again, either way is good, and either way you get a nice long range of motion and you will hit all 3 or 2, depending on who you ask, heads of your pec. Number 2, cable guillotine press. And we're going to talk a little bit more about the guillotine press as we go. But again, I like to have a fly motion and a pressing motion with all of my pec training. So this is a pressing version of that Bayesian fly that we just looked at. So using this variation, we can go a little bit heavier, a little bit lower on the reps, but again, because of that internal rotation at the shoulder joint, make sure you're very careful. If you start to get any pain, please tuck the elbows a little bit more, and if that solves the problem, then carry on like that. Do what feels comfortable. Here we have a dumbbell guillotine press. Make sure you keep the elbows really high. No need to touch the dumbbells together at the top. Again, after a certain point, there's no more stress on that muscle. So just make sure you get your elbows extended. And here is the barbell guillotine press. Now, this one is probably the most tough on the shoulder joint because that barbell puts you into a very fixed path of movement. So be most careful with this one. The benefit of this one is the loadability. Okay, now we're back to our cable chest press. This one is a little bit more elbow tucked. You've got a roughly 45-degree angle between the torso and the upper arm. So this one's gonna be a lot easier on your shoulder joints. And here's a side view. Make sure with your cables that you pay particular attention to the line of resistance, which in this case is the cable itself. You want a straight line from when you extend your arm all the way to the anchor point of the cables. We want to make most of our pec movements flat or totally horizontal, and a minor amount of them incline. Here's a standard dumbbell press. Standard dumbbell press, old school, classic. It gets the job done perfectly fine. And again, you get a little bit longer range of motion with the dumbbells than you do with a barbell. And speaking of, good old-fashioned barbell bench press, still a great pec builder, although the exercises that I've shown you up to this point, I would rank a little bit more highly for pec hypertrophy. And we had to cover the incline as well. So you want a very slight incline angle. If you go any higher than roughly 30 degrees, I would even say this clip is a little bit high. Any higher than 30 degrees and you're gonna end up putting all that stress on the anterior deltoid instead of your pecs. So low incline on all of your incline movements. Here's the incline dumbbell bench press, 45-degree angle between the torso and the upper arm. Again, you can never go wrong with a dumbbell bench press. And then finally, barbell bench press. So you might notice that I keep going cable to dumbbell to barbell. The reason being is, again, I would rank cables number one for pec hypertrophy, again, because you can adduct and flex the shoulder joint to a higher degree than you can with dumbbells and barbells, and then dumbbells over barbells because a dumbbell, you can get your arms a lot further back. You don't have that bar in the middle stopping you. And this one is just a personal favorite of mine. I really like using rings for pec work. Because the rings are so freely moving, they're much easier on your joints than both dumbbells and barbells. Your wrists, elbows, and shoulder joints can all move very naturally with rings. So I really enjoy using these, and these have been a staple in my programs for a long time. And you can also put the rings out fairly wide, although it's extremely difficult, so don't start with that, to get that adduction and that flexion we've been talking about. Here's how you can progress the move. You slowly walk your feet back, and then once you get to a point where you're getting a lot of reps and you need to progress further, throw your feet up on a box. And then you can keep progressing, and this is the benefit of doing rings over just a normal push-up, is because you're further elevated off the ground, you can load this exercise up. So I like my brute belt. I've had it for years. It's held up extremely well. I should do a review on this. Much better than a dip belt as well. And then again, you can slowly but surely load this exercise, and so long as you are progressively overloading, then you are making the progress that you need to. And that's my final note on pec training. Make sure you are always progressively overloading the body part. That's the case with all your muscles. Bit by bit, keep getting stronger. Oh, hi. You're still here. That's awesome. So you watched the whole video. Thank you so much. If you liked the video, please like the video. Again, we got a full series of these coming. Another 14 body parts to go. Let us know which one you want to see next. Whatever the most important body part is to you, whatever you want to see the growth in the quickest, let us know and I will deliver. Please like, comment, subscribe, share with a friend if you found this valuable, and I'll see you with the next one. Deuces.
Your mic's not on.